All right, we just saw Mom's Night Out, and the way this show works is we will tell you whether we like the movie very quickly or not, and then if it sounds like a movie that you want to go see, you can stop the video, go see it. Otherwise, you can keep watching, and we'll talk a little bit more detail, potentially getting into spoilers or things like that that you may not want to hear about if you are going to go see the movie. For me, I didn't really like this movie very much. I've seen a lot of other movies do what this is trying to do better. The basic premise seemed to fall apart pretty quickly. It didn't really deliver on being a vicarious bad situation or being a vicarious good situation, really. And I kept like wanting to turn it off and put on Adventures in Babysitting. Like that's the movie that this wanted to be, or I felt like that would be a better example of what this movie was going for. And then there's just some sort of, half-hearted character development that really goes nowhere. We don't learn very much about anybody throughout the course of the movie, and really everything important that there is to know about this movie is in the trailer. It's all there.
And sort of out of context. So I don't think I disliked it as much as you did.
Yeah.
I think because I am probably, to some extent, the target audience. So I would say this is targeted to women who are mothers and doing whatever else they're doing and they feel inadequate. And so I think it really had me for the first, maybe 45 minutes, seeing how insane her life was and how overwhelmed she was and how she felt like she wasn't doing all the things she needed to do. Mm-hmm. It was when all of the terrible things started happening, it was too much and too forced. Nobody has a day that is that bad.
Well, and I mean, so I kind of went into this expecting it to be kind of like the movie Date Night with Steve Carell and Tina Fey, where they go out to just kind of have an evening out, and in this case, it's a group of women rather than a couple, but they end up just getting into these crazy adventures. And really, there is no crazy adventure. It's just all the kids are missing, and the van, there's a miscommunication, and the van gets taken, but it never really develops from there, and it's just sort of, that plot thread just dies.
Yeah, I think having the three different sort of family sets was too much. I think if they had just taken the main character, I don't know what her name is, I can't remember. Allison and her husband, and kept the focus on their family and their relationship and her figuring out how to be okay with what she was doing, I would have been okay with that.
Yeah.
I think it just got excessively complicated, and I think it also kind of sold her short that all of a sudden she was freaking out and couldn't deal with this.
Yeah. So and I think that's a problem kind of across the movie, but that's the quick version. If you're into this movie, if you saw the trailer and you think it looks like it's a good time, I'd still be kind of cautious about it. I'm not sure. I think The Other Woman, which came out last week, is probably a better movie to go see with your girlfriends kind of movie. And yeah, I agree, with what you're saying as far as this movie isn't targeted toward me, but I don't think it really does succeed at what it's trying to do for you or for its target audience either. No. So I don't think it's one to go check out. So anyway, to get in a little bit more detail, and tune out if you don't want to know everything that happens.
Spoiler!
So, even in the trailer, I got this vibe of, the men are completely useless with the kids, which, okay, that trope is fine. I was I knew what I was getting into when I saw that in the trailer, when I knew that was coming. But the fact that everybody is just completely incapable and inadequate,
right.
And this very, like, you start getting the feeling early on in the movie that there's kind of this Christian overtone going on.
Oh, yeah.
And then the, like, climax of the movie, or the big turn in the movie, is this speech about how, you know, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And that's just really that's just not... That's not enough. Like, that's not satisfying.
No.
As she didn't learn anything about herself. She already goes to church. She already knows about, they didn't teach her about Jesus.
No.
Like, she'd never heard that before. She just decided that, you know, this guy is talking about Jesus, so...
Yeah, no, I would have bought into it a lot more, and kind of what I said earlier, I would have bought into it a lot more if the moral of the story was, hey, your husband can do this, you guys need to work as a team. Or, hey, you have awesome friends, you guys need to help each other out. But the Jesus won't give you more than you can handle was...
Well, and you know, one of the things that was bothering me throughout it, too, was that I wanted to know, who the kids were. What were their names? What's interesting about the kids?
I don't think we got any of the kids' names.
No information about the kids. They're just out of control. There's lots of them because she has 3 and her friend has 2 and her other friend has 1, and then the husband's half-sister has a kid they end up chasing after, and none of the characters gets any development beyond just real basic stereotyping. The best friend character she has no arc in the movie. She literally disappears like halfway into the movie and doesn't really come back out again.
Wife. I mean, she seems kind of interesting. Like, she's trying to deal with a teenage daughter, and she's obviously sown her wild oats, but they didn't.
But she actually has like a bit of a character story.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
There's a little bit behind her, and you know what? She was the producer of the film, so imagine that. She got a little bit of extra screen time, a little bit of development.
Yeah.
But her relationship with her daughter was interesting.
Yeah.
And that's what I meant. Like, all the kids were either completely glossed over, or they were just babies, and they were just dealing with, you know, babies doing baby things.
Yeah.
But all the men in the movie are man children, and all the women are just like stressed out, frazzled.
Yeah.
Can't deal with everyday life kind of people, and that doesn't really change. And to me it felt a lot like watching a made for TV kind of movie. That might be because of, you know, the production, the people that were involved in it, and that sort of Christian slant to it, that it kind of it wasn't it didn't feel like a mainstream film. It didn't feel like a very high budget movie at all. I can't really think of what to recommend in it. I mean, I think the performances were fine. The storytelling was not great.
It's relatively inoffensive. You could probably take your whole family if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I would say that's true.
And I think that's probably why we're seeing it here the Thursday before Mother's Day.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely being released for Mother's Day.
But I mean, you could take kids, you could take your mom.
Yeah, and there's enough, like, the action and the sort of business of the movie is, there's enough going on that you won't be bored by it. Like, but it's a lot of, let's get in the car and go across town again and talk to this guy again, and he's a funny character, and a lot of it feels like, honestly, a lot of it feels improvised. Did you get that sense?
Yeah.
Almost like they had, like...
kind of the whole second half. Yeah, like all of the, like, chasing around after the baby.
Well, and they showed, like, outtakes. And the outtakes, too, seemed like, you know, like just Sean Astin goofing around. Or,
yeah.
Just different people, like, trying different versions of lines and stuff.
And maybe that's what it was. Like, it didn't seem like there was any real trajectory to the search for the baby.
Yeah. Well, and she starts out blogging, and you hear her voice as she's blogging, and you see her typing, and the text comes on the screen as she's blogging. And you're like, oh, this is going to be like a mom blog turned into a film, but it's not. And then in the end, they sort of bookend it with, she writes the blog post that says, like, I'm good enough kind of thing.
That actually might have been more interesting if it had been more of like a Bridget Jones diary where...
Yeah.
Like... And I guess it was all one episode, but if it was more the story of her blogging about her character development and how she came to terms with it.
All of that stuff felt like it was just sort of shoved in there to make it feel modern. Mm-hmm. Like the conversation that she has at book club that's completely texting back and forth with someone right next to her. Like a lot of that stuff just felt like it was just there for the sake of saying, you know, hey, this is a movie in 2014 instead of not. But I mean, you know, none of that stuff. And again, it's sort of, I mean, one of my kind of bothered me about the movie was, you know, she's supposed to be stressed out and frazzled, but like they do make it out with like the husband's like not around very much, that he's busy, but she's got great friends, she's got a great support system, she's obviously wealthy. It's like she has time to like write this blog somehow, even though she doesn't have time to do much of anything else. Right. It just very much like it's like first world problems, the movie. Like, and it's not to say that like, you know, being a mom isn't tough, and like I believe that she's like, you know, having a hard time, and that, but there's also some kind of weird, like, you know, it was her dream to be a mom and marry a good man, and she's living her dream, but she can't understand why she's not happy. The more I think about it,
the more sort of religious undertones there are.
It's not very pro-woman. It's not a very feminist movie, which isn't to say that, like, she should aspire to not be a housewife, right, and not be a mom, but it's very much like she's even saying to herself, like, this is all I ever wanted for myself, and I'm not happy.
Well, and her husband was supportive enough that that felt sort of artificial too. Like, oh, she's been so stressed, and now, like, she's finally hit the wall, he's encouraging her to do that. Like, it seems like he would have been doing that all along, and at some point before she hit the wall, he would have orchestrated that.
Yeah.
You know, like, she's going to book club by herself, you know, I mean, she's...
Yeah, and I think that's the problem with not developing the relationship with the kids, because she doesn't seem to really, like, the only time she spends with her children is dealing with children disasters.
Yeah.
Kids drawing on walls and going crazy and doing all of this kind of stuff. Doing things that bad kids do in movies, but not things that kids do in real life. Like, you don't have kids that every time you see them, they are out of control, destroying your house. Like, that's not...
Right. For every, like, one moment where they draw on the wall, there's, like, the other 10 times where they're snuggled up on the couch with you, or they're playing in the backyard and they want to show you something, or they tell you how much they love you. I mean, yeah, it's not very balanced.
Yeah. It makes you like, I don't know, like it I don't think it would make anyone feel like being a mom. And
right.
I think
I was gonna say it wouldn't. This is not a good movie for people who don't already have their own children.
Yeah, definitely, because it just doesn't. It doesn't show. Like her only reward at the end of this movie, like the only thing that she really gets is her husband's respect.
The little girl comes up and tells her she's her favorite or she loves her or something.
But because we never see anything else from that character, that's meaningless to us. Like that's
it was kind of a token.
Yeah, all the rest of that kid's lines in the movie are just cute, you know. I'm gonna be an artist. Dad's always on a plane.
I've never been to jail before.
Yeah. She's just punchline, yeah. And then so it doesn't connect when she says,
yeah, that's true.
You know, and if you're a sucker for, you know, a little kid saying something cute, then that's one thing, but it's not like, I don't know, like the movie doesn't like teach you anything or give you any, it doesn't arm you with any good advice or any sort of like, you're doing the right thing with what you're doing.
Right.
You know, how to survive, and like just the idea of like hanging out with other adults is a good message that they don't really come across with. Like they'd make it into like she dared to like leave her house for one night and all hell breaks loose. Right. Like, well, I guess if you're going to be a mom, you got to give up, you know, every night of the rest of your life to stay at home.
That's true.
Yeah. All right.
In fact, what are we doing here? We should probably go.
Yeah. Our kids are at jail.
Yes. They're probably painting the walls right now, and Grandma's probably tied up with cling film, whatever that was.
Getting a tattoo with bones.
Yeah. So, hopefully we'll be able to salvage them and their childhoods somehow.
I'm glad that I am a parent in my actual life instead of in this movie. I'm not sure that I could stand it. I'm not sure that I could stand being like completely useless man-child in real life.
See, now here's my next question. If we had one child and you were a useless man-child, why would I ever have two with you?
There you go.
Seriously, I mean, then you've already got two children. You don't need a third. Yeah, I don't get it.
Hope you enjoyed our review. That's Mom's Night Out. Please check out our other reviews here on YouTube and over at DaleMaxfield.com. Thanks for watching.
Bye.